Welcome to episode 14 of Lakeshore Christian Church's Midweek podcast. I'm Pastor Randy Cordell. We're coming to you live from our studio at our Antioch campus here in beautiful Nashville, Tennessee. Each week on the podcast, we plan to talk about all things Lakeshore. On a regular basis, we're going to have guests that we interview and occasionally even have a guest host. I want to encourage you to subscribe if you haven't done so already. Become a regular listener, invite others to tune in as well. You can hit that notification bell also. We get notified when we have a live stream going out, and you can catch it. If you catch it live, you can interact with us on the chat. We'd love for you to do that. If you're listening later, it's going to be posted on our YouTube channel, and you can listen to it at any time there. It's also going to go out on other podcast platforms, so you can catch it there. Well, I'm happy to welcome my guest today. It's my friend Marcus Meneese. He's the founder and CEO of Stronger Than My Father. Welcome, Marcus.
Welcome, Pastor Randy. Thank you for the invite. I'm really excited to join you on your podcast.
Well, man, I want everybody to get to know you a little bit better and get to know about your ministry, the program that you run there. Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and where you grew up and all those things.
Well, I'm a Nashvilleian, born and raised here in Nashville, 46 years old. Have a beautiful wife of 21 years and two beautiful sons. There's 13 and 7. Just grew up in Nashville and had a desire in my late 30s to find a way to help children, especially young men growing up without a father. So that's born inside. I feel like that was born inside of me. Yeah. It just didn't nourish until my 30s. Yeah. And so that's why the name Stronger Than My Father is designed to help kids, especially young men, break the fatherless cycle.
Man, that's great. I've been impressed. I got to meet you, I guess, just a few years ago, and got to hear a little bit about your program and was really impressed. That's why I wanted to invite you to come onto the podcast. You grew up in Nashville, so what schools did you attend here in Nashville?
Schools, Whites Creek, Tennessee State University, Trevecca, and I can't forget Nashville Tech. So I started at Nashville Tech and then went to Tennessee State, degree in psychology, and then I have a master's in organizational leadership. So I used my master's to kind of help start the nonprofit, those classes that I took to help guide me and give me the tools it takes to start a nonprofit.
That's great. I know you said your passion really started hitting you maybe in your 30s, and the passion that you have for children, I see it in you, and I've been to visit you're right now currently, I think you're doing your program on the campus of Smith Springs Church of Christ.
Smith Springs Church of Christ, the after-school program is there.
Right.
Yes, sir. Yeah. I think it's just, I started, a lot of people ask me where the name come from, and I tell people it comes from God, but my son had a shirt that said Strong Like Dad.
Oh, okay.
And so when he was 3 years old, I was putting the shirt on him, and God just whispered in my ear, Stronger Than My Father. And so I just wrote the name down. Yeah. And I kept it, but it kept ringing in my ear, Stronger Than My Father. And then from my master's, that's how I was able to start a nonprofit to bring more of an awareness to fatherhood. And number 2 is to find ways to help young men who does not have a father don't continue to follow that same cycle. So when you hear our catchphrase, the cycle ends with me, that comes from research from fatherhood. But my mother asked me in 2003 to be my cousin's big brother.
Okay.
And the first question I told my mother is, where's his dad? Why are you asking me to do it when he has a dad?
Right.
And so my mother just kind of gave me that look like he does not have a father. And I was like, okay. So from being his big brother, he become like my son.
Yeah.
And so from that, I realized, hey, if I could help him, how many other young men that I can help in my path, give him the same tools that my father gave me. And my parents been married nearly 51 years.
Oh, that's great.
And I have a solid father, solid mother. So I had the spiritual side with my mother. Yeah. Helped me in church, guided me through all the years. And then my father put that work ethic in me. Yeah. So I work a lot. So from there, I know that with young men who don't have a dad, they're going to lose on one of the two, spiritual or the work ethic. And most young men who do not have a father figure in the home that's solid. Now, you have some dads, but they're not solid.
Yeah.
Those are the young men that repeats the same cycle. And those are the young men that go to jail. These are the young men that you see on TV carjacking or killing someone. Because a true father does not teach a kid how to kill or steal.
Yeah.
I clearly know that. And so I use my tools that God has given me to be able to bless a young man's life and help him. And that's what I've been doing for over 20 years.
Yeah.
It's just, it's a sense. I don't know. It's just a sense God gives me. I see a young man and the mother asked me to help, but I could say, I got to see where he's trying to go. And then I use connections I've been blessed with to get him in contact with people that can take him farther than me. But hopefully 2 things I want out of this, Pastor Randy, is number 1, when you become a father, you're there for your kid.
Right.
Don't repeat the cycle. And number 2, learn how to be a good provider.
Yeah. And
you'll be able to take care of your family. And these are the tools that my father gave me to do that I've been doing for all these years. Yeah. It's just pushing and pushing these boys. So when I say stronger than my father, even my dad said, I want you to go farther than me.
Yeah.
So it's not bashing the dad, but just teaching the kid that, hey, you can overcome what you've been through, but you got to have a mentor in your life.
Yeah, yeah. I think we're all seeing the results of the breakdown of the core family unit in our culture today, and it's just causing such a chain reaction of negative consequences to the breakdown of the nuclear family as God designed it to be. And one of the keys to that, like you've been saying, is when the father's not present, or if he is present but not stepping up as the dad he needs to be, we need to realize that's an impact that's going to be negative potentially for generations to come, because the cycle often gets repeated. So I'm so thankful for a ministry like yours that's in there on the ground trying to break that cycle and keep it from being repeated again. Tell us some of the key elements of your program, what you do at Stronger Than My Father, kind of on a day-to-day basis. What kind of programs have you got going?
Well, for the past 6 years, I partnered with Smith Springs Church of Christ, and we started an after-school program called Hope Leadership Academy. And the goal of Hope Leadership Academy was to help kids, number 1, with your homework in the afternoon. I'm really keen on making sure kids can read and write.
Yeah.
Make sure they have their homework done. And for years, I was able to be in the center helping kids with their homework because I really loved that. Yeah. I really love seeing kids know how to do mathematics and English. The program grew from 4 to 125 before the pandemic.
Wow.
And so we're currently at around 92 kids. So we have a great director that's running the center. She runs it from day to day to gives me the opportunity to do the things I need to do to grow the business. Also, we've been a number of community involvements. We've given out Easter eggs and meals towards families in the Antioch community. We did a book bag drive last year. We partnered with Joy Styles this year and did another great book bag drive. Also for Thanksgiving, we feed families on Thanksgiving.
That's fantastic.
That's been like the joy of my life, seeing people come up to the center, non-judgmental, and say, how many meals you need are you going to be eating on Thanksgiving? Yeah. And we look forward to giving out food boxes, and possibly I'm trying to talk my team into giving out meals on Thanksgiving again. And then what we did last year was really special. We gave out Christmas gifts the week before Christmas, and we partnered with our church ministry with Mr. Brian Sweat, and we were able to, he gave all our kids in our school program 1 gift. But then we identified 10 families, and we gave 10 families gifts the Sunday before Christmas. We actually went to their house.
Yeah.
And I mean, the joy on these kids' face, the joy on the parents' face. Even one parent said, if y'all didn't do this, my kids wouldn't have had a Christmas.
Yeah.
So the community involvement is very strong here because I believe in Antioch. I believe that's why I'm still here. Yeah. A lot of people want to run and get out, but I'm still here because I feel like this is a place where I'm tired of, Antioch being underserved, and I want to be sure we can help in that area. And then we're bringing back our mentoring program called Stronger Sons. So after 7 years, my wife was like, it's time to go back to mentoring.
Yeah.
That's what the name Stronger My Father is for. So we're bringing our mentoring program back. We're having a ceremony on September 29th to bring in our new cohort for young men that we're going to invest this next full year in, giving these young men the tools that what it takes to be to break the fatherhood cycle. So that's starting in September. So we have right now about 16 young men signed up.
Right.
And we're looking to get probably about 4 more. We're going to invest 20 young men. Every other weekend, they got to be at the center.
Yeah.
So it's not no one time a month, you get you a slice of pizza. Mm-hmm. We're going to put in work every other Saturday. So people will see that on our social media page, that it's just more than just picking you up on a Saturday for a few hours. But I'm putting work ethics, tools, and knowledge in you. And I'm hoping those 3 key elements are the tools that helps you break the fatherhood cycle.
Oh, man, that's great. I saw that you were starting the mentor program back up, and I'm convinced too. That's that is an effective way to help young people break that cycle. They need mentors. So if there's some people listening to the podcast, maybe that have a child that would be good, would need that program, how would they contact you? How would they get connected to be a part of that?
Very easy. Just go to our website at strongerthanmyfather.org, click on Stronger Sons, and there's an interest form. Okay. Put in your interest form. We have a representative that'll call you, and then we schedule an interview with the parent. Yeah. And one thing I'm doing different with the mentoring is that we're doing a parent involvement class once a month.
Oh,
and
good.
Not once a month, excuse me, every quarter.
All right.
And it'll be a couple of hours.
Yeah.
But the parent, the mom, or the guardian has to have a buy-in.
Yeah.
If they don't have a buy-in, then what I do would be ineffective.
Yeah.
So that's why we have to work with the parents. That's why we do the interview process, and it's a thorough process.
Yeah.
It's not just come in, you in, that's it.
Yeah.
We got to see that it's a fit for your son and that you're serious about making a change.
Yeah.
And if we can do that, I guarantee you we have a greater shot at making sure your son breaks the cycle. We're partnering with 2 schools right now, Antioch Middle, and we're going to be partnering with Cane Ridge. Yeah. So I will be showing up at the school to see if my boys are doing well. So just like me being a dad, and I have 2 sons, they don't want me to show up at school because they know I have a standard where they're supposed to act and how they're supposed to operate in school.
Yeah.
And that's what a father leads, and then the mother's your support.
Yeah.
And that's the way God intended it. It's just, like you said at the beginning of the podcast, there's things that Satan wants to destroy, and then he goes after the family, and that's what happens.
Absolutely. Well, on the other side of that, do you have all the mentors lined up, or are you looking for some others to help out as mentors?
Yeah, we have. We are looking for mentors, but what we're doing different because we're not doing a ton of one-on-ones unless God really leads me to let somebody mentor, because I want to protect the child.
Yeah.
But we have a number of guys who we're going to shoot out emails every other week and let you know our weekend activity, and then do you want to come and help?
Okay.
And then those guys, background checks and everything else we would do to be sure everybody's safe. But we have a number of classes coming in. We have cooking. We have working on cars.
Yeah.
We have grooming etiquette. We're doing some work with Chris Whitney and One Gen Away. You have to work in my mentoring program. You got to put the work in. So I think if any mentor who wants to participate in our every other weekend activities, same thing, go to strongerthanmyfather.org, click on the interest form, and we'll reach out to you. So we have about 20 guys that's going to be trying to help with our every other weekend activity, and that helps me. But me and another gentleman is probably the primary 2 that's going to be going to the schools. That's going to be the one making sure I'm checking up on your child, making sure their grades up to par, because I want to be sure that this program is effective. And I know there's other programs that's doing work, but I have my own idea of what I feel that young men needs to know to break the fatherless cycle.
Yeah. Well, I love that mentoring program, and I love how much of an investment you're making in that. It's not just a get together and have a meal together once in a while. There's so much more to it than that, and that's what it's going to take for a lot of our kids. It's a little more involvement and buy-in from the family, like you said, the mother, the guardian, the family buying into this with them, because it does take everybody buying into this idea that we need to break this cycle, and let's do whatever it takes to get this done. And the more buy-in you get, the more success you're going to have with that, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I've seen it. The work I've done, we just did I was blessed that News Channel 4 did a story on me and another young man who I work with for 2 years. A young man who went to college, graduated high school from Whites Creek, went to TSU, very successful. Yeah. But one thing he said in the interview, he said, I listen to Marcus. Because I'm going to tell you what you need to do to survive. And if I don't know the answer, I'm going to find somebody to give you the answer, because these young men didn't ask to come into this world without a father. And one thing I know, Pastor Randy, that every kid knows they have a dad.
Yeah.
They know that. I have a young kid that I'm trying to work with now, and he constantly asks his mother, where's my dad?
Yeah.
And when kids are growing up without that anger comes in, and that's when anger comes in. And I did a podcast with one young man. He said, you have a hole in your heart.
Yeah.
And that hole is going to get filled with something.
Right.
It's going to get filled with something bad, or it's going to get filled with something good. My program is designed to get something good in you.
Yeah.
So then I'm hoping that you're a productive citizen, and I don't see you on TV.
Yeah.
I should not see on TV nothing bad. The news should have more things to see of young men doing well, and I'm hoping that our program can accomplish that.
Absolutely. Yeah, we want to catch them doing good and let that be on television. Let that be the thing that people are talking about. Absolutely. Well, I do know from a spiritual standpoint as a pastor, that void is real in people's hearts and young men's hearts, and daughters too, that don't have a father in the home as well. That's something they long for.
Yes.
And that can lead them to some really bad choices and bad decisions too. So the presence of the father is huge for the boys and the girls. And having that male influence, if the dad is not there, having other male influences is really important too. I know you've emphasized this some, and I'd like to emphasize it for Lakeshore and for other churches around the country. This is an area where I believe the church can do a better job of the men in the church being there for these families, for these single moms, and trying to raise these boys and girls without the dad being in the home. There are men in the church that could step up and help out with that.
And I agree with that. I try not to go really tough on the church with that, but because most churches, especially in the African-American community, are 85% women.
Yeah.
So if it's 85% women, there's not a lot of men to step up. And so that's one reason why I believe God had called me to do this.
Yeah.
And I tell people all the time, I fought with God to do this because I didn't know this was his plan. But I do know that if more churches will, and I said this on the radio when I was doing radio, is that if more churches will incorporate some type of mentoring program, even if you can't do it on a consistent basis like me, say, hey, once a month, we're going to get these young men, even if once a month, that can make an impact on a young man's life to know, hey, once a month, we're going to meet up here at the church and we're going to do an activity or something to save a young man's life. I've just seen so many young men in my path go to jail. It's some I've preached and talked to that didn't listen, but I told them, you're going to deal with the consequences. And so, when God leads me to, work with a young man, I try my best. And then, like I said, hopefully this, with Stronger Sons mentoring program, hope it can incorporate for more churches to say, hey, can you teach us what you're doing so we can incorporate an opportunity in our church? And I think that will help grow the church. I think hopefully it will get more men in church. And show them another path, because you need the spiritual aspect. And I said that at the beginning of the podcast. You need two, the spiritual and the work ethic. If you can get those two, you're good. You're gonna be solid. Yeah,
and that's one of the things I really appreciate about you and what you're doing is you don't leave out the spiritual side of it. There are other programs out there that, there may be government programs or whatever where they can't do that. But you are free to do that, and you're willing to do that. And emphasize that side of it too, and that's another reason I wanted you on the podcast, is because I do think like you do. It takes both sides of that, the very practical work ethic. Work ethic.
Yeah,
I get it out.
And
then the spiritual development of the young man too. When you could put those two things together, that's how the man becomes the man that the family needs him to be. It really is.
Exactly. And one thing that I was always taught, a family that prays together stays together. And I think that's important for young men to see. My boys, they developed that prayer. I would say my wife really pushed them, because I worked a lot. And she pushed them to learn how to pray for your food. And that's why I want to show these young men our mentoring program that, I'm not going to teach religion, but I'm going to teach you how to pray. Because when you get in trouble, you got to know how to pray.
That's right.
And I think just teaching young men that and the importance of incorporating prayer in the family, I'm hoping that these young men will come back years later and say, Marcus, I've always used your methods of praying with my wife, praying with your kids. And those are just elements that men need that's not talked about a lot.
Right. And they can see that by example. That's one of the keys, like you were talking about. Not just hear somebody talking about it, but see you do it. And see others doing it, other men that will pray in their presence and set that example for them, show them how they're doing that with their family, because they're not going to know how if they don't ever see it modeled in front of them. They just won't know how to do that. So
yeah, that's true. I think that, what I had growing up, I was really blessed to see my mother develop a prayer life in us and told us to pray and go to school. Go to Sunday school. And Sunday school really gave me the knowledge that I needed to be the type of person I am now. I think it's just so important for young men to see that. I think it's, and I know we live in a typical world where we don't see it a lot, but somebody has to start a new chain, Pastor Randy. Somebody got to start a new cycle. Right. And I'm just hoping that my program can bring some more of an awareness of that young men who grow out of fathers need support, need help.
I guarantee you it is making a difference, and some of the difference you won't see till a little ways down the road, right?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
But you're going to have young men coming back to see you and talk about how it impacted their lives and how it made a difference. I know you've already had some of that.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be multiplied many times over. We're just going to continue to pray for you and what you're doing there, and we thank you for coming in and talking about it today. I know you've got you're a podcast pro because you're doing a podcast too. So tell everybody about your podcast and how they can find that.
Our podcast is simple, Stronger Than My Father. It's a podcast designed to bring more of awareness to fatherhood. Some conversations are positive, some are negative, but at the end of the day, we want to find a solution. So just go to our website at strongerthanmyfather.org, click on click on podcast, and it will show you ways to listen to our podcast or watch some of our YouTube that we have out. I'd say get a tissue because some of them will make you cry, but it's a great opportunity to just bring more of an awareness to fatherhood. And I guess I'll be preaching it until God take me home.
That's right. Well, he's called you to it, and you're being obedient to that call. And we thank you for doing that, man. I want to update everybody on a few things coming up at Lakeshore. We've got a lot of exciting things happening right now. September is a busy month for us. We are partnering with Thrift Smart for a fall clothing drive. They're going to have their truck here at the Antioch campus on Sunday, September the 25th. To pick up donations from both of our campuses. You can go to thriftsmart.com to find out more about Thrift Smart and the ministries they partner with, and they are a blessing to us, and we love this partnership. We've got a couple of retreats coming up, fall retreats out at White Mills Christian Camp. There's a ladies' retreat September 16th and 17th, and a men's retreat September 23rd and 24th. You can register for either of those on our kiosk at our campuses or on our website at lakeshorechristian.com. We're partnering with the Red Cross to do a blood drive on September the 20th here at the Antioch campus. And again, you can sign up for your time through our website at lakeshorechristian.com or at the kiosk at either campus if you're there on Sundays. We have life groups at Lakeshore that meet regularly during the week, and they meet in homes and coffee houses and different places on a regular basis. If you're not already connected to a life group, we'd love to help you make that connection. We believe it's a great way for you to grow in your walk and discipleship with Jesus. So you could go to our website, click on that life group graphic there, fill out that form, and someone will follow up with you and help you make that connection to a life group. This coming Sunday, September the 11th, we're going to continue our message series that we started last week. It's called Legacy. We're studying the life of Joseph. Last week, we talked about our legacy being established when we're in a pit, when we're going through hard things, how we respond, what we do in those times is part of how we write the legacy that we're leaving behind. This coming week, we're going to have Mike Swartz challenge us with a message on our legacy when our character is being tested. We can learn a lot about that from the life of Joseph. You can read ahead in Genesis, chapters 39 to 41, some of those circumstances where Joseph's character was being tested and how he responded, and God used him in some very powerful ways. I hope you'll join us. We encourage you to invite family and friends, neighbors, and co-workers to join us as we continue to connect, grow, and serve here at Lakeshore Christian Church. We'd love to see you at either campus this Sunday. Thank you for joining us today on our podcast.